Hi, my name is Matt Uckerman, and today I'm talking to you about an open source platform for hearing research. So the community has a number of needs. We need high quality calibrated sound stimuli and recordings. Our work needs to be reproducible. We need to customize whatever we're using, the hardware, so we can test new ideas and new test protocols. And we need broad collaboration across labs to access varied populations. And so what you have right now from commercial hearing test systems, really high quality calibrated sound stimuli and noise recordings, but we have a problem with disparate data structures and formats. It's difficult to customize and high costs. This all limits collaboration. So what we want from an open hearing research platform, well, we like open source because everything is easily customizable and transparent. We want high performance. It needs to be about the same as the commercial systems. We'd like it to be lower cost because that gives us larger studies across more diverse populations. We want it to be a validated system so that we can increase clinical transition of new test paradigms. We'd like a nice open data repository so we can share data amongst each other, improve transparency, reproducibility. And we want a community that works around a system so that we can increase collaboration and productivity. And so if we had access to such an open source research platform, this will expand the reach of hearing research across labs that are resource limited and give everybody access to these high quality tools. So what do we have today? Today we have Tympan, which is a software platform. We have the Tympan, which is a hardware platform. And we are working on an open science data hub and the Orin probe. All of these we'll talk about in more detail. So Tympan is an open source software platform. The idea is that researchers create test protocols that they can send to administrators. Administrators can deploy these to multiple sites and different subjects who then take the tests and then push their data to a common data repository, which is really a nice core of this thing. The idea here is to take the effort of administrating these tests off of the researcher to make it easier to deliver these studies. Then there's Tympan. Tympan is an audio processing hardware library, hardware system. It's all open source, both the electronic designs and the packaging, everything, and including the firmware. So you can change whatever you need to change. Here are the specifications. The big thing here is that there's expansion headers for easy customization. Tympan was originally designed for hearing aid research. And so that's an example up here, but folks have used it for all kinds of things, like noise sampling with an off-the-shelf microphone, or even audiometry. The Open Science Data Repository, this is something we're currently working on. And so the idea here is that you'd be able to upload your data directly from Tympan. Then you'll be able to access test protocols developed by others. You can try them out, make your own test protocols, share them with the community, also perform some basic analytics on the data. And so what we're currently working on is we're developing the data schema and data structure, which is very important because we need to be able to support a wide range of measurements, but still have it all work together. We're also working on the Orin. This is a in-ear probe for wideband acoustic emittance and autoacoustic emissions. It basically integrates 4 low noise MEMS microphones and 2 speakers. And so the rest of the talk is really focused on the Orin probe. The version 1 probe is seen here. You can see it's quite rough. And so the results in the next sections are from this version 0 probe. So how do you calibrate something like the Orin? Well, we start with a plane wave assumption. We assume that inside the tube, it's a plane wave. And so that's the equation for it. You have a forward traveling wave and a reverse traveling wave. Then we say that one of these microphones have a 0 phase shift. So that'll be a reference microphone. So one of these 4 down here. We also assume that the geometry doesn't affect it. So if you put in different ears, different caverns, the mic phase and amplitude calibration doesn't change. And we assume a constant absorption coefficient for air. So it's a 2-step approach. First, we do a relative calibration, and then we do absolute amplitude calibration. And the relative calibration needs at least 3 mics and 2 tubes. And then with the amplitude calibration, you need a reference microphone. And so this is the piece that we're still working on in terms of calibration, trying to figure out how to do this in an easier way for folks with commercial off-the-shelf microphones. Everybody loves linear algebra, so this is my linear algebra slide. You can pause the video if you want to see the details here, but this is how the relative calibration works mathematically. Um, these are the results of the relative calibration. So what you see here on the left is a plot frequency versus the correction and phase and amplitude. And so there are 3 lines here, one for each microphone relative to the fourth one. The darker lines here are smoothed results, and then the raw corrections are the colored lines underneath. The plot here on the right shows you a sanity check. So what we do here is we use 2 of the mics to predict the fourth mic. And so we can see really good agreement up until about 8 kilohertz. Then the next step is to do the amplitude calibration. So what this plot shows is, again, frequency versus the amplitude calibration for a single mic for 4 different tubes. And so ideally, these colored lines would all be in the same place. But the black line here is the average of these 4. And so that's the actual calibration used. So if you use that black line with the full calibration, again, a sanity check, now what we do is we use the microphones, what we've measured in the Orin, to predict the reference microphone. And that does very well up until about 3 kilohertz. And then if we take this previous plot, we look at the difference between pressures. We put it on dB scale for all of the different caverns. We see this plot. And again, it does pretty well up until about 3 kilohertz. So why doesn't it do well beyond that? A couple of reasons. As I said, the initial prototype of Russ was pretty rough. And so we decided to basically make a better probe. And that is the version 1 design. And so in this version, we're planning to release all of this information as open source, the enclosures, as well as the board layouts and so forth, including any kind of software that we had to write to calibrate the probe, as well as our calibration data and so forth. So to conclude here, we're working on an open source hearing research platform. It builds on a number of mature technologies, Tympan and Tympan. We're working on an open science repository that should enable better collaboration and reproducibility of our research. And we're also working on this Orin probe that will enable new diagnostic methods. And so if you have any feedback for us, the Orin probe will eventually be in the Tympan website, so you can give us any feedback on the Tympan forum. And this work is supported by an IDCD grant. And I'm available for any questions. Thanks very much.